We are going to go over some slope notes today. It says review, but it's not a review for you. This is new. So first we're going to start off with classifying slope. There are 4 types of slope. If it goes up, like it's going upward from the left to right, so like left to right, it's going up, that is positive slope. Also, if you calculate the slope, it will be a positive number. The negative slope is when, if you're going from left to right, the line is going downwards. Okay? And also, if you calculate the slope, it will be a negative number. The horizontal line here, that's just going straight left to right, that is a 0 slope. And your slope would be 0, obviously. And then if it's going straight up and down, that is undefined slope. There you go. Those are the 4 types of slope. And the positive and negative slopes don't have to look exactly like that, as long as it's going in an upward trend from left to right, and the negative going downward from left to right. It doesn't have to be exactly at that angle. Okay? So let's take a look at finding slope. And at any point, if I'm going too fast, you can pause this. And if you all need more time on Monday, I might set aside some time for you as well. So given a graph, you're going to use m equals rise over run. And I'm trying to write as softly as possible so it's not really loud. But you take a look at the graph, and rise means how much it goes up, and run is how much it goes to left or right. I shouldn't say up or down. Okay, and you're going from one point on the line to another point. Okay, so if we take a look at number 1 and we use that m equals rise over run, and by the way, just a reminder, m is slope. I'm just going to put equals slope. Okay, because that's what we're trying to find. M is slope. Rise over run means if you pick any 2 points on the line, say I'm going from A to B, I see how many spaces I'm going up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is my rise. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to that other point. So that is my slope. My slope is 4/5. Okay, it doesn't matter which point you're starting from. You should get the same answer. Okay, so if I'm going from B to A, I'll basically get -4 or -5, which is the same as 4/5. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. Like I said, you can pick any 2 points on the line. We're using P and Q just because they are points that are right on the intersection. Okay, that way we know it's a whole number. I could use this point too if I wanted. Okay, but I'm going to go from P to Q this time. Like I said, it doesn't matter which one you start with. You can start with Q and go to P. You should get the same answer. In fact, I'll do both this time. So we're doing, let me change that to a little bit. There we go. Equals rise over run. And rise is up or down. Run is right or left. Okay? And don't forget, down and left are negative. So up is positive, down is negative, left is negative, and right is positive. Okay? So I'm going to go from P to Q. P, 1, 2, 3. Right? Because I'm on that same line that Q's on. So that I'm going down, so that should be -3. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got -3 over 6. Okay, you should reduce it. You should simplify it. And how you simplify is you can divide both of those by 3. Okay, because they both, 3 goes into both of them. And you end up with -1/2. Okay, I could do it, I'm going to do this in a different color because I'm going to show you that it doesn't matter which one you start with. So if I go from Q to P instead, I'm going to do this in green so that you can see it. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. To the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since I went left, it's negative. So you end up with the same thing. You still have negative 1/2 because it doesn't matter where the negative is. Okay. Negative 1 over 2 is the same as positive 1 over negative 2. So it doesn't, like I said, doesn't matter. Just one point on the line to another point. But you can't count diagonally. You have to say how much up or down it is and then how much left or right it is. Let's take a look at number 3. Oh, this one is lovely. So, slope. Oh, I'm going to use a different color because that green is not as easy to see. Okay, rise over run. You don't have to write this every time when you're doing your own practice. I'm just doing it to remind you. So I'm going to go from M to N. So my rise, actually, I'm going to go N to M. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go N to M because I want positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Okay? Right or left? I'm not going right or left. That's 0. Okay? And if you remember from the types of slope that we talked about, that's actually undefined slope. I'm trying to write really softly because I know that the iPad really picks up when I'm writing. Okay? Undefined slope is what that is. I guess I could use cursive, but then some of you might not be able to read it. Okay, number 4. So straight up and down, that's a vertical line. This is a vertical line here. This one, vertical line. That's an undefined slope, right? We saw that at the beginning when we were talking about types of slope. Now we're going to go down here, and I don't know if you remember what a horizontal line is slope-wise. Let's calculate here. It's not really the calculating. We're actually just kind of, I call this like the hip hop method. You're just making little hops. You're counting the hops. So this is going to be rise over run. So my rise, I'm going from J to K. I'm not going up or down. I'm staying on the same line. So that's going to be 0. I don't have to go up or down to be on this at the same level. Okay, but I do need to go right 1, 2, 3. Okay, that is going to be 0 because 0 over 3 is 0. 0 over anything is 0. And that means we have a 0 slope. Okay? And actually, if we go back, let's go back. Rewind. Okay, if we go back, let's put in these slopes too. Why not? This is a positive slope because the number is positive. And if you take a look at the graph, it's going up from left to right. And then this one right here, we end up with a negative, right? So it's a negative slope because it's negative 1/2. And also our graph, if you take a look at the graph, it goes down from left to right. Okay? So we have positive slope, negative slope, undefined slope, and 0 slope. One of each. Okay? Now, we are going to move on to calculating slope with ordered pairs. So without even graphing, you can figure out what the slope is. And this may be this is going to be a little more complicated than the rise over run method. Okay? It's going to involve a little bit more organization. If you don't understand it today, it's totally fine. We're going to do a lot of practice before you are tested on this. Okay? Like lots and lots of practice. So, slope is M. That also equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Now, you may notice that these numbers, these small numbers over here, boop, they are not exponents. Exponents are up high. These are down low. What these numbers mean is just, they are just to help you keep track of which coordinate is first and which coordinate is second. Don't worry, I'm going to explain what that means. So, you have 2 coordinates, and if you don't remember what coordinates are, ordered pairs. Ordered pairs was in our vocabulary yesterday. Ordered pairs are these. Okay, -2, 5, and 6, -1. These are 2 points that are going to be on our line. Those are 2 ordered pairs that are on our line. They just It's basically the location of a point is what that is. Okay? And the first value is always x, and the second value is always y. So you can label them. In fact, I highly suggest you do. Now, it doesn't matter which point you make 1 and which point you make 2. I'm going to make this first one 1 and this second one 2. It's just saying I've got a point number 1, point number 2. Okay? Now what you do is you need to fill out that formula that we had at the beginning. Okay? That formula of m equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. I have to pause every so often so I can cough. I don't want to cough into the microphone. It's rude. Okay, so I'm just going to plug in. So my y2 is right here, -1. So I go -1 minus my y1 is 5. So 5. Okay, I'm going to put my x2 minus x1. So x2 is 6. x1 is -2. And make sure you minus in between, okay? All right. I'm just going to put parentheses here to separate the minus and the negative. Now, you all are able to use a calculator. I highly suggest you do use a calculator. It's going to make things a lot easier for you if you were having trouble with negatives. Okay? So -1 minus 5 is -6. And 6 minus a -2 is 8. Okay? So that's our slope, -6/8. However, I want you to simplify that. Okay? In this case, these are both even numbers, so we can divide by 2. And that's going to equal, I'm going to put it down here. That's going to be -3/4. That's my slope. Keep it as a fraction. If you get a fraction, simplify it, but leave it as a fraction. Don't make it a decimal. That's weird. Okay? So the slope is -3/4, which means the line is going to go down from left to right. I already know that. It's a negative slope. Okay? It's a negative slope because it's a negative number for the slope that we calculated. Okay? All right. Let's move on to number 6. Here we go. So I'm going to use the same formula. I'm just going to write it down every single time. So y'all are like, yeah, that's the formula. Okay? I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to label. This is my xy, xy. I'm going to make this one 1 and this one 2. Okay? So remember, I'm just taking my y2 minus my y1 and my x2 minus my x1. So my y2 is 7. My y1 is -3. My x2 is -6 minus my x1 is -11. Okay? That's going to be my slope. 7 minus a -3. Type that into the calculator. I can just do it like, right? Minus a negative is adding. So that would be 10. And 6 minus a -11. If you have two minuses next to each other, you can make that adding. So that ends up being 5. Okay? Now, 10/5 is 2. And you don't have to leave that as a fraction because it's a whole number. Whole numbers and integers are fine. So my slope is 2. Okay, so my slope is 2. That is a positive slope, which means my line is going to look kind of more like that. Okay, it's going to go up from left to right. Okay, we're good? Like I said, pause if you need to write everything down. That way you don't feel like rushed. You can pause whenever you want. So, here we go. Same formula, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Writing it down over and over is going to help you memorize it better too. That was really sloppy. Okay, I'm going to label these x1, y1. It always has to be xy. Okay, x2, y2. Okay, now if you're wondering what these big letters are, right here, they're just giving a name to the points. This is point X and point Y. So if we actually, drew the line, it would have an X and Y on it. So example, like number 6 was G and H over here. G and H, that just like, G and H. All right. Let's take a look at number 7. So my y2 is 2. My slope. Boop. If you want to, you can start off just with m equals, and then do the fraction and do the minus signs, and then you can just plug in the numbers. Okay, so this is my y2, y1, x2, x1, right? My y1 is -4. My x2 is 9, because I'm right here. And then my x1 is also 9. That's going to be easier to calculate. Okay, 2 minus a -4 is 6. And 9 minus 9 is 0. Here's the deal. I don't know if I've told you this. I'm pretty sure I told you last year, but you probably forgot. You can't divide by 0. You can divide 0, so 0 can be on the top in the numerator. But in the denominator, if you try to divide by 0, you get what's called undefined. If you type it into the calculator, 6 divided by 0, it's going to give you an error. Okay? So undefined. In fact, what does it say exactly? I forgot what it says exactly when you type it into the calculator, but it does not like it. Okay? So that's undefined. Undefined, remember, undefined slope is going to look like this. Straight up and down. All right? Boop, boop. Another way you can find out undefined, know that a line is undefined, if the points have the same x value. See how these are both +9? That isn't it. That's like a dead giveaway that it's going to be an undefined slope. Okay? Moving on to number 8. All right. Number 8, we are trying to find the slope of RS, the line RS. And remember, slope is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Y'all are lucky. In the video I had to make for my 7th graders last week, my cats were fighting in it. My cats aren't fighting today. There we go. Or maybe you all want more action. You want the cats fighting in the video. I'm going to just set it up like this. And I'm going to plug in, right? y2, y1, x2, x1. So my y2 is -3. My y1 is -3. My x2 is 0. Basically, this is just making sure that you do it in the same order. If you're starting with one point, you start in the same spot when you go to the next one. Okay, so that's set up. -3 minus a -3 is 0. 0 minus a -7 is 7. So that is actually going to equal 0. That means it's a 0 slope. Okay, 0 slope means my line's going to look like this, a horizontal line. Boop. Okay. So again, we've got one of each because the first one was a negative slope. Well, I shouldn't say the first one. Number 5 was a negative slope. Number 6 was a positive slope. Number 7 was undefined. And number 8 was a 0 slope. And please make sure you're writing it all in. Okay? We'll go on to the back page now. Now we're going to do some practice. So the first 6 here, the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we're just going to do the rise over run. So I'm going to write that off to the side. Okay, my slope is rise over run. Okay, and then I'm going to put my slope here on the bottom. So I'm going to zoom in, zoom. Number 9. So I'm going to go up or down first. It does not matter which point you start at. You should get the same answer. I'm just going to go from the bottom one to the top one. So 1, 2. That's a 2 on top. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got 2 6. I do want to reduce that. I can divide both of these by 2 because they're even. So that'll be 1/3. So my slope is 1/3. That makes sense because look at my line. It's going up from left to right. Okay, it's going upwards, I should say. That's how you can double check to see if you got it right. Number 10. Okay, my slope, it's rise over run. So I'm going to start, I don't know, I think I'm going to start up here and work my way down this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just trying to get the same level as that point right there. I went down. Since I went down, it's going to be a negative. So it's going to be -10. And then I'm going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, my hop's a little off. There, and so I will have 4. -10/4. I'm going to divide both of those by 2 because they're both even. And I end up with a -5/2, or -5/2. Okay? That's my slope. That makes sense because look at my line. It's going down from left to right. So it should be a negative slope. Okay, let's move on to 11. I'm going to circle this first. That's my answer. Number 11. Now, number 11, I can look at that and I can say, you know what? My slope's going to be positive, so I should end up with a positive number. It's going up from left to right. Okay, I'm going to start here and work my way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, make sure you're counting by lines. That's a +8, so that's going to go on top. And then I'm going to the right, 1, 2. And that's a +2 because it's to the right. 8 divided by 2 is 4. I can divide both of those by 4, basically. I mean, not by 4, by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So you get 4/1, which is 4. That's my answer. And I told you it's going to be a positive number. All right? Because positive slope. We're going to move over to number 12. All right. M. So I'm going to go from here to there. Doesn't matter where you start. I just, wherever I feel like going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 on top. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I made a mistake. Can you catch it? Okay, I went down over here. Down is negative, so I need to make that negative. I went to the right, that's positive. Okay, so -7/7 is actually -1. Right, because -7 divided by 7 is 1. I should mean -1. So -1 is my slope, which makes sense because my line goes down from left to right. Let's move over to number 13. So I can already tell what this is going to be. If it goes side to side like that, it's horizontal, that is going to be a 0 slope. I'm going to prove it though. So I'm not going up or down. I'm staying right here, which means that my rise is 0. Oops. I am moving to the right though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's going to be 8 on the bottom. And then that means that my slope is 0. Which makes sense because it's a horizontal line. I already knew that. Let's take a look at number 14. Okay, number 14. It's going to be a positive slope. I can already tell because going up from left to right. I'm going to go from this point to the other point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I went up, okay, which means it's positive. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to the right, so it's positive. So that was 4/7. Okay, and if you want, you can write that in as you're going. Up 4 to the right, 7. And that's your slope. That can't be reduced. 4/7 is simplest form already. Okay? Like I said, I'm just going to prove to you, it doesn't matter which point you start at. I can start at this point and go 1, 2, 3, 4 down. and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left. Remember, to the left is negative. So I'd get -4 over -7. But a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so it's the same thing. It's 4/7 still. Okay? You get the same thing. Either way you do it. So do not worry about which point to start at, as long as you're going up or down first and then left or right second. Now, we're going to do the calculating. Okay, we're going to do that y2 over, or y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. It's basically the change in y over the change in x. I'm going to write that formula again real quick. Okay, you might see it like this. Change in y over change in x, and delta, which is the triangle, that means change. Okay, but we've been writing it out like this. Change in y over change in x. So the first step you want to do is you want to label. Okay, I'm going to do x, y, x, y. I'm just going to make this one the first and this one the second. Okay, then I'm going to plug in. So I'm going to go ahead and write it in, just like the formula. I just realized that that's so loud when I'm writing, and I'm sorry. Y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and I'm just going to plug in those numbers. So my y2 is 4, right here. My y1 is -11. My x2 is 17. And my x1 is -8. Okay, then just type it into the calculator. Type it in so you don't make any math mistakes. 4 minus a -11 is 15. And 17 minus a -8, I think that is 25. It is. Okay, I'm going to simplify. I can divide those both by 5 because they end in 5. So my answer is going to be 3/5. So my slope is 3/5 for 15. It's got positive slope. Okay, let's move on to 16. I'm going to go a little faster. Okay, y2 minus y1. I'm going to do it like this first. There we go. Okay, now I need a label. So I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. It always has to look like that, okay? Meaning one point should be a 1 and the other point should be 2's. All right, so now I'm going to plug in. So y2 is -17. y1 is -15. x2 is 13. And x1 is 10. So if I type that into my calculator, or if you're brave and you want to do the negatives, you should get a -2 over 3. Okay, that's simplified. That's simplest form. So you can just leave it as a -2/3. Moving on to number 17. I realize this video is going a little ways, so if you all don't get finished today, don't worry. Like I said earlier, I will give you more time next time we see each other. So this is going to be like this. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and I'm labeling. I did it out of order this time, didn't I? I said label first. x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, my y2 is -7. My y1 is -7. My x2 is 5. And my x1 is -6. I can already tell because the y's are the same that it's going to be a slope of 0 because I'm cool like that. So -7 minus a -7 is 0, and 5 minus a -6 is 11. And I do end up with a 0 slope. Okay? Moving on. Like I said, you can pause if you need to. So don't be like, Miss Clarkson, you're going too fast. Pause it. Okay, I'm going to label first this time. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And here we go. So Y2, Y1, X2. You don't need to write these little numbers. I'm just doing it that way to keep track to show you what I'm doing here. Y2 is negative 9. And then Y1 is negative 3. X2 is 2. And X1 is negative 4. Like a soft tip on this stylus. Okay, negative 9 minus negative 3 is going to be a negative 6. And 2 minus negative 4 is a positive 6. So that's actually going to be negative 1 as your slope if you simplify. All right? Next, number 19. Trying to make this video not crazy long. So, it's already kind of long. I'm going to label first. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and type it in here. I'm not going to write the smaller ones now. Y2 is 5. Y1 is negative 2. X2 is 10. X1 is 10. Uh-oh, I know what that's going to be. So that's going to be 5 minus a negative 2 is 7. 10 minus 10 is 0. That's going to be an undefined slope. You can just abbreviate like that. Okay. 20. Boop. All right. Boop, boop. Label. X1, Y1. X2, Y2. Okay. So Y2 minus Y1 will be negative 6 minus 3. Okay, because Y2 minus Y1. Then X2 minus X1 is 19. And X1 is negative 5. I don't know if you can hear that noise. It sounds like a UFO. It's a helicopter. So, we get a lot of helicopters where I live. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. And 19 minus a negative 5 is 24. So, I can reduce that actually by 3. And I end up with a negative 3 over 8. That's my simplified. Negative 3/8 is my slope. 21. I better be able to upload this video. It's kind of getting a really big video. And I know it's not super exciting, but at least you don't have to do any homework today, which is nice. Right? I'm just doing this one wackadoodles. So Y2 minus Y1 is negative 16 minus negative 12. X2 is 1. X1 is negative 7. Okay? That is going to be negative 4. 1 minus negative 7 is 8. So that's going to be negative 1/2. Because I can divide both of these by 4. That's a weird 4. Okay. Negative 1/2. Boom. I'm starting to do these like really fast. Pause if necessary. Alright, slope X1, Y1. I still label them because I will lose track. So that's how I roll it. 1 minus 0 because Y2 minus Y1. X2 is negative 13. X1 is negative 18. Okay? That should be 1 minus 0 is 1. And negative 13 minus a negative 2, I think that's 5. It is. So 1/5 is my slope. Okay, last one. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Ooh, that's weird. Okay, last one, finale. Y2 is negative 4. Y1 is negative 11. X2 is negative 2. X1 is 1. So negative 4 minus a negative 11. Using my brain. That is 7. Okay. And -2 minus 1 is a -3. I can leave that like that. You don't need to make a mixed number. Okay, just leave it as a improper fraction. It's totally fine. So I end up with -7/3 as my slope. That's it. What you can do is you can put these notes in your folder because we're going to use these notes next time we meet to do some practice. Good job. Have a wonderful day.